Hi everyone, I'm here, and this is my channel. In today's video, we are talking about the Busby's Stoop chair death curse. There are some pretty scary images in this one, so viewer discretion is advised. Let me know in the comments if you have heard of this before, or if you have experienced anything similar. And let me know if you think that there could be some truth behind this story. Also, please subscribe to my channel, give it a thumbs up, and share it with those who might like it. This really helps to support my channel. Thanks for being here. I was always told by my parents to not talk to strangers. In fact, I think most of us were. But what happens when a stranger talks to you? It's kind of awkward, isn't it? You never know what to say, how to respond, or maybe you don't even want to talk to them at all. Well, apparently this was the case for a woman named Helen Viola from West Virginia back in 1967. She had been sitting in her porch swing when she noticed a man coming up the steps to her front porch. He introduced himself and asked her if she would like to buy some insurance. She told him no, but then he kept talking to her anyway. When she finally got inside, she locked the door behind her and sat down in a chair. That's when things got strange. The chair suddenly tipped over and she fell onto the floor, hitting her head and dying instantly. Now this was strange, but certainly not unheard of, right? People fall out of chairs all the time. They get up and they trip, or the chair falls apart and they hit their head. But this was not the end of the story. You see, another woman named Ruthie Bell was also interviewed by this same salesman around the same time. She, too, told him no and shut the door in his face. A few days later, she too was sitting in a chair when it suddenly broke and she fell, hitting her head and dying. And then it happened again. Florence Smith was the next victim. The traveling salesman came to her house and she politely told him that she wasn't interested. After he left, she went inside and sat down in a chair and it broke under her weight, causing her to hit her head and die. Now, 3 women were dead after falling out of their chairs after strange salesmen had come to visit them. What was going on here? Well, the answer is possibly one of the scariest things that I have ever heard. See, there were rumors circulating through the small town that this man was not a salesman at all. In fact, he was an evil spirit that used the guise of a traveling salesman to trick people into letting him inside of their homes. And he only targeted elderly women who lived alone. Once inside, he would speak to them and bring them bad luck, whatever that may be, and then leave them to die. That's why, according to legend, you should never talk to a stranger. And if you do, make sure that you invite them inside or else you may just bring death upon yourself. Obviously, this sounds like a creepy tall tale, but there may be something more to the story. For starters, there was actually a traveling salesman who visited these women. His name was Roy H. Overstreet, and he did try to sell insurance to the ladies. However, he disappeared shortly after the 3rd woman died and was never seen again. This is odd, right? Why would someone disappear after selling insurance to 3 women who died? Is it possible that he knew something was up and he was trying to escape the area? Or was he involved in something bigger than he thought? Well, that's where things get really interesting. You see, the police and the newspapers of the day decided to investigate, and what they found out was horrifying. Apparently, this traveling salesman had traveled all around the country, and he had done this multiple times. He would knock on doors and ask to speak to the head of the household, preferably a woman. If he was allowed inside, he would talk to them, usually about religion or politics. And then he would somehow convince them to take out insurance policies for their children. And then, once the policy was taken out, the mother would die in a freak accident. Usually, she would die in a different way than Helen, though. She would often die of heart attacks or strokes. It gets even worse. According to the investigators, it didn't seem to matter where he went, what state he was in, what city or town, the deaths just seemed to follow him around. And, unfortunately, it seems like he was quite successful at what he was doing. In total, it is believed that this man was responsible for at least 32 deaths across 18 states. That's a lot of dead people. And still, he was never caught, and he continued to travel from state to state. And this brings us to the big question. What was he doing? One investigator said that he believed that Overstreet was not a demon, but rather a curse. They said that he brought bad luck with him wherever he went, and whoever he spoke to would die soon afterwards. Other investigators thought that he might have been poisoning the women, but there was no evidence to prove this. Still, other investigators thought that he might have been stalking the elderly women, waiting for the perfect moment to attack them and steal their money. Maybe he drugged them, though. There was no way to know for sure, which was really frustrating. And, to make matters worse, it seems like this curse followed him for years. In 1984, a woman named Mabel Walker from South Carolina died after suffering a stroke. A salesman had come to her house 2 weeks prior and tried to sell her life insurance. Before he left, he had asked her to pray with him, and she agreed. After the man left, she began to feel sick, and 2 weeks later, she died. It was ruled as the cause of death. As a stroke, there was no foul play, but some believe that this was the work of Roy Overstreet. So what was the connection between this man and all of the women that he met? Was he some sort of cursed individual who brought bad luck to everyone around him? Was he a diabolical killer who could evade the police and get away with murder? Or was he simply just a normal man who prayed with the women, and God took them because he believed that they needed to go? Well, unfortunately, we can't know for sure. As time went on, the police stopped looking for him since he was not directly connected to the deaths. Instead, they believed that he had simply scammed the women out of their money. Still, I believe that there is something more to the story, especially considering that he disappeared as soon as the third woman died. I think that he knew that he was being watched and he knew that he was in trouble, so he ran. As for why he did what he did, I have no idea. Maybe he genuinely believed that he was bringing people closer to God, or maybe he was just an evil person who liked killing old ladies. Either way, he was never caught, and the mystery has never been solved. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please remember to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and share it with others. Also, let me know in the comments any thoughts that you might have about the case. I will see you next time. Bye.